Each one of us has a special skill set that can serve as a resource to the other human beings around us whenever it is needed. It is part of our soul's connection, and it sits in the roots under the surface, just waiting to be called upon. It is our spiritual connection. And whether or not we believe in or are aware of that connection, either way, you're going to have that skill set, whether you pay attention to it or not. I am Tavish Carduff. It is Resource Week at our Raw Material. It is the 10th week of a 12-week practice. It is a resource in and of itself. You can pick it up and start it at any point. Right now, Resource Week is a great time to pick it up. I live in Kansas City, where 1 week ago today, we had tragedy strike in the middle of our Super Bowl celebration. It was the last day of conflict week, and the following day, we would move into intention week. And naturally, Kansas City absorbed the conflict and set to the business of attending, putting intention around all of the things that we could to, number one, make sure this never happens again. Number two, make sure everyone's okay. Number three, address the concerns of the community that are obviously pouring in from everywhere. And with each of us having different sets of opinions, that's a whole bunch to pull together and try to assuage all at once. The final 4 weeks of the practice are where we learn how to use our own raw material to take action. So we pay attention first to intention, emotionally driven pillar, and we see where our feelings get stirred up, what we want to do, what we think should happen. What we saw in the wake of last week's shooting was a lot of emotionally driven intentions. I think a lot of people had ideas of things they wanted to do on that day that still aren't complete today. There's no shame in that game. We all do it. We all have intentions, especially born from something emotional or triggering that we want to carry through. And so the next week, resources. How do we line up the resources, the things that we'll need to actually hit the next week's pillar, aligning with intention? So intention, resources, and aligning with intention bring us to wholeness, which is the final week. And I think as we go through the next few weeks in Kansas City, we will see ourselves going through that entire process and trying to find wholeness within, our little pocket of the city, or within our job, within our community, within whatever piece of Kansas City touches us in this situation. Back to that skill set that each person has. We all have a personal ability, unique, our own, something within us that is a resource for other people. It can be something as simple as just having a great smile and being able to time it when people need it. And they might say to you, wow, I really needed that. Thank you for, just bringing that smile to my day. The skill set is endless. But when we recognize the things that people appreciate about us, then we start to see where our gifts lie. The mistake we make is expecting those skills to come naturally to everyone around us. And I think when we fail to recognize something as our own gift, then we start being disappointed when we don't see it in the world around us, which is why we go back and look at what have you been complimented on, because those are generally the things that are going to point to your own personal skill set. When you know what your skill set is, it's easy to turn it on anywhere. You can stand in line at the grocery store and be kind to the people around you, offer them something that changes their day, maybe from an awful day to by the time they get home, they're now bringing joy into the house. That is how easy it is to just offer some spiritually uplifting energy to people that are around you that you can tell need it. Kansas City right now is being drained of our confidence and our, just ability to lift each other and ourselves up with ease. Now, that doesn't mean we can't do it, and that doesn't mean we aren't reinventing ways to do it all the time. But the reality of what we're living with now is still upon us, and you can feel it. I mean, I'm doing PT right now, and I can feel my body not as free as it was a week ago. I don't move as easily. My foundation has been rocked, and I'm not as steady in my own space as I used to be. that's okay. And I can sit in that, and I can absorb the resources of the people around me who are, generally just being great people and being my friends and being people who go through life doing what they do. But if I lean into their skill set a little bit, I draw my own power. I get resource from realizing that the people around me are strong and resilient, and think about what, each of us have gone through. And it's really easy to tap into that creative well and decide, do I want to put my energy towards reforming gun laws, or, making sure mental illness is taken care of, or giving us a better way to handle conflict rather than it having to erupt in violence. Really creating measures where we allow space. There's a skill set that I've been working with. I can breathe. I can sit back and let a person kind of get tangled up or triggered within themselves without adding to it, because I just have the ability to breathe when things get hard, to intentionally breathe and just allow the space around the triggered person, even if it's me, to be comforting and to be warm and to be inviting, so that reason and ration comes back, that frontal lobe reattaches, and we start to reason with conflict resolution rather than, needing to immediately disrupt things or change the building or make ourselves hurt or leave, whatever we need to do. These are emotional reactions. And when we can get through the emotional reaction into our spiritual support, calm down our mental state, and breathe through our physical triggers that hold it in our body, then we start to let the emotion go. So as we head into Resource Week, the practice guidance is going to be, notice when your intentions aren't what you wanted them to be, and see how your own body can be a resource in absorbing rough information or hard information. Do what we do in Emotion Week. Stand at the edge of the ocean and let yourself adjust your footing. Let things wash over you. Let your own resources shine through. Let your abilities be present for you, even if you're not used to being self-confident or claiming a skill set for yourself that helps other people. Dig around until you find it, because this skill set is, if you don't know what it is, you're not using it in a way that helps the people around you. And I think every one of us would really like to offer something that helps. We just don't know what it is. From the heart of Kansas City, from the heart of my own self and our raw material and the other 4 people in the company with me, let's just open ourselves up to healing. Let's be a spiritual resource for our new connection to all of the other communities that have suffered this kind of loss and who have had public displays of violence play out in the media, play out with a lot of people around and a lot of fear running around. Let's breathe around the fact that this happened. Let's be outraged, but let's also remind us that it is a part of our wholeness. It is a part of our environment. And if we're inclined to be bothered that things like that don't happen here, well, that's not where we're living anymore. Kansas City has joined the ranks of so many other cities that used to feel safe in that same sentiment. The reality is, the resource of our entire human creativity and ability to co-create, ability to manifest, ability to be intentional about what we want to happen for ourselves and in the world is right at our fingertips as a resource. Do everyone around you a favor, including yourself. Get to know the Raw Material Arena. It is a resource for our mental health. It is a resource for our physical, emotional, and spiritual health as well. Once we get in there and get clear with each pillar for our own self, our gifts become clear, our soul purpose becomes more clear. We start to see the things that will make us joyful and happy in the world, instead of all of the things everywhere we look that bother us, because that's a real thing. We are seriously bothered at a lot of levels, and I don't blame us. Underneath that, though, is the resource of our own creative ability to help make this world how we want it, ideally, when we all work together. Thank you again for being here. We'll be back next week to talk about aligning with intention. Peace be with you this week.